women deserve so much more than what's being offered to them
Exactly.
with the pill. And so just my passion is to educate women on what the pill is actually doing and to tell them there's this other option. She very kindly said, "Can I ask why you don't want the pill?" And I said, "Well, if my problem is that I'm not ovulating regularly, the pill isn't going to help me do that." And she looked at me square in the face and said, "Why do you want to ovulate?" And it was at that moment that I was like, we are speaking two different languages.
Yes.
Medical professionals are now calling it a fifth vital sign. It is that important for women's health that we are ovulating regularly. When we are taking the pleasure as the only part of it, we start to get into use. And we forget the natural consequence of sex, which is procreation. Whether you are a religious Catholic or not,
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
no one wants to be used.
Yeah.
Or if we want to be used, it's because deep down we want to be loved. Being open to life does not require that every act of intercourse must result in pregnancy. That's not even physically possible, right?
Exactly.
So how can you be open to life while using NFP?
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Witness to Love podcast. I'm Samuel Paul Bryant, owner and founder of Witness to Love Family Counseling Services. We got started doing the Witness to Love podcast to give people the opportunity to give witness to the good things the Lord has done for them. These people include other professional therapists, priests, religious, and lay people from different trades and different backgrounds. The goal of the podcast is to inspire people to live life more abundantly, to live life more gratefully, to live life more fruitfully, to look at God as a God of abundance and love and not a God of scarcity. If you like what you see, please subscribe to this podcast wherever you may be viewing it, and please hit the like button. God bless you, and thank you so much for supporting our mission. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today we are blessed to have Mrs. Haley Yeager with us to talk about issues pertaining to fertility and health.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's start by talking about where you're at today.
Okay. Well, I am actually coming up on 7 years of marriage.
Come on.
So Monday, I don't know when this is coming out, but the 13th, October
Yes.
13th is 7 years.
That's your 7th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
You look all of 19.
Except when I'm pregnant. Yeah. 7 years of marriage. I have three kids, 5, 3, and 1.
5, 3, and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
My 1-year-old is giving me a run for my money, but
Wow.
but it's good.
Yeah.
Family
What is
life
it
is good.
like having 3 kids under 5 running around the house?
It's crazy.
Let's just get down to it.
It is requiring me to learn to like pray when I'm doing the dishes or just, to just, it's crazy.
Pray
It
without
is crazy.
ceasing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I turned around the other day. My daughter is the 1-year-old and she is my first climber. And I was in the kitchen, turned around, and she's just sitting on the kitchen table, cross-legged, just so happy about the fact that she's just seeing the world from a different point of view.
Yes.
And at this point, I just kind of let her hang up there because I know she's not going to fall.
Yeah.
I'm close enough to see it. But anyways,
Gotcha.
yeah, she's crazy, but she's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
but I love it.
So tell us a little bit about what you do in the fertility world and give us an introduction to that.
Yeah, so I started as a symptothermal instructor, so that's just a method of fertility charting or natural family planning. I started doing that right around the time that I got married, so around 7-8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been doing that for marriage prep, teaching mostly marriage prep couples. And then in the last 2 years, I've kind of shifted into a different world of NFP, where I was working, I became trained in the Creighton Method, which is, again, just a different way of charting your fertility.
Yes.
But it's more of, quote unquote, a medical method. And so I was working at Morningstar OBGYN, which is a pro-life clinic out in Gilbert.
Yes.
And I was working there for about 2 years. And while I was there, I was getting trained in teaching the Creighton Method. And they hired me as an on-site Creighton instructor because when a woman or a couple is going through whatever reproductive issue it is. Maybe a common one is infertility or PCOS, endometriosis. Those are the kind of top things that I saw. When you're going to a doctor that is not just going to put a Band-Aid on you, that's actually trying to get to the root of why you're experiencing the unwanted symptoms that you have, oftentimes they're going to ask you to chart your cycle. Because when you chart your cycle, yes, you can use it for family planning, and we can talk about that. But if we're only doing it for that, we're missing out on a whole other world of what we can see on a chart. Because your hormones are dictating all the signs that you're seeing throughout your body, throughout the cycle. And so when you're charting that, you're basically plotting data of your hormone fluctuations.
Okay.
So when you're charting, you can see different signs of maybe some sort of hormonal imbalances or whatever might be going on. You can see a lot of what might be happening on the chart alone. Now from there, you do blood work, maybe an ultrasound to do proper diagnosis and treatment from there. But anyhow, with the Creighton Method, it's more of a medical method. And so that's why an OBGYN...
A medical method of charting.
Yes. So it can be used for
cycle.
family planning. Yes. But a lot of times it's used for if you are experiencing some sort of reproductive issue, you're seeing a doctor that's trying to get to the root of it. You can start charting your cycle. That doctor will hopefully know how to read that chart and then start to properly diagnose you and treat you from there. So I worked there for about the last 2 years. And then just this last July, I felt the Lord kind of tug me in a different direction, especially with having 3 kids now.
Yes. Can I stop you for a second?
Yes, please.
So I want to go back and clarify some terms.
Yeah.
Like NFP.
Okay. Yes.
Natural family planning. Right? And we want people to understand, as Catholics, we are taught what about fertility or managing our fertility? Right.
As Catholics, we're taught that we never want to place an intentional barrier between you and your husband or you and your wife.
Okay.
And so, but we're also called to be prudent. We're called to use our brains that God gave us.
Yes.
And not at all times in our marriage are we called to have another child. Maybe it is a prudent time to not. And so using our brain, using our intellect that the Lord gave us, we can understand the woman's cycle better to know that she's not fertile all the time.
Yes.
A healthy man is going to be fertile all the time.
Exactly.
Really until he dies. But a woman, is not, right? She's really only fertile for about a week every cycle, no matter how long that cycle is. And her fertility ends around age 50.
Yes.
So by charting the cycle, we can understand when she's actually fertile so that for family planning purposes, the couple can decide to abstain during her fertile time to not get pregnant.
Why not just use artificial birth control or condoms?
Are you ready to get into the... we're deep diving right now, right away.
Oh, yeah. We're going to jump right in the water.
Yeah. Okay. So, there's a moral aspect and there's the physical aspect.
Yes.
So maybe I can talk about the moral aspect first.
Go for it, yes.
So with the moral aspect, right, God created sex for 2 purposes, procreation and unity of the spouses, babies and bonding.
So I'm going to push back on certain things you're saying.
Yes.
So imagine maybe I'm not Catholic, maybe I am Catholic.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what about pleasure then? God didn't create sex for... Can I just have sex simply for pleasure?
That's a very good question. So the pleasure aspect of sex is a good, right? God created that pleasure. It is a good. It is meant to unify the spouses. But when we are taking the pleasure as the only part of it, we start to get into use. And we forget the natural consequence of sex, which is procreation.
Yes.
When we forget about that and we're only seeing sex for the pleasure, if that's the only purpose of it, then why can't I have sex with anybody I want? But if we get into that idea...
Yeah, if pleasure is the primary goal, yes, then why can't I just have sex with whoever? Why just be with one person?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the point of monogamy, in other words?
And so in that sense, I mean, Pope Paul VI, Saint Paul VI, he wrote an encyclical for non-Catholic listeners is a writing, a document that a pope writes. He wrote one back in the 60s called Humanae Vitae, and he touches on this. And he actually says if we are only taking the pleasure of sex, which is a good, right? That is a good. But if that is the only thing that we care about with sex, or we're plucking that part out and only seeing it as that, we start moving into use.
Gotcha. The way I've described it to the clients that I work with is, imagine in your diet, in your food, you only ate for pleasure, right? How might that change your health? How might that affect your health? It seems like it would easily lead to unhealthy behaviors, right? And extreme behaviors, right? So do you see that with sexual intimacy also, that it leads to unhealthy behaviors?
If we're only looking at the pleasure aspect of it?
If we're just doing the pleasure aspect and forgetting the unitive, which is in the Catholic world, we're going to commit to one person for life. That's the unitive. The two shall become one. And the procreative, meaning as Catholics we're saying every sexual act needs to be open to life. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So there's kind of two parts there. So the first part with the pleasure, right? You're talking about use. And so if we're only looking at the pleasure, the unitive aspect of sex is because you are giving your whole self to the other, right? And that's something we say in our vows as Catholics, that we are giving ourselves totally to that other person, holding nothing back. And so on a couple's wedding night, they are every time a married couple has sex, they are renewing their vows, because they are saying, I am giving my whole self to you, holding nothing back.
Wow.
And so if it strictly then becomes just about pleasure, selfishness is very, very easily tied to that. Right? And so we start to see, how can this benefit me? How can I receive more pleasure from you? And again, we're not demonizing the pleasure as long as it's rightly ordered in being a gift of myself to the other.
But a lot of us could probably understand what you're saying. We've probably all have felt used at some time, right? And that's what you're talking about. I think is that if it's just for pleasure, then I'm just having pleasure. I'm having sex with you for my pleasure. Once again, working with clients who struggle with pornography, they develop through pornography that kind of same idea. I'm only having sex to get what I want. I'm not even really considering you. You're more just an object for my pleasure. Right. Okay, good. So we're saying that's going to be unhealthy if I'm just seeking sex for pleasure. On a multiple levels, spiritual level, psychological level, relational level, it's not healthy. Can we just say it that way?
Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so then going over to the family planning side of it, you said every act, and the Catholic Church teaching says every act must be open to life. So what does that mean? Because not every act is going to result in pregnancy, which is a good thing. That's a good thing. God created the female body to not be fertile all the time. Why? Right? Why is that? A man is fertile all the time, but the woman is not. And that's part of our biological makeup. That's how God created us, which means that not every act, unless every single act is done only within her fertile window, only every once a year, right? When she's fertile, or maybe once every 2 years, depending on when her fertility returns after pregnancy, only is that one act going to result in pregnancy. And hopefully a married couple is having sex much more than just once a year. Hopefully. And so all the other times that it doesn't result in pregnancy, what does that mean? Is that open to life, right? And so this is where, again, kind of going off of Humana Vitae, which is the writing from St. Paul VI, he says that we can use the natural rhythms of a woman's body, which again is God-given, to help us in being responsible as parents, again, taking in the prudential judgment of where that couple is right now, if it's prudent to bring another human into the family, and also to understand generosity and that, can I be generous with myself, with my own body, with the gift of my vocation, with the gift of my marriage, with the gift of my motherhood or fatherhood? Can we be generous in bringing in another person into that? And so it's a monthly discernment. It is a cycle by cycle discernment for a couple of that question, is now a good time?
Gotcha.
And prayer, I would highly recommend, well, for me, I would say
Yes.
bringing that prayer aspect in and asking the Lord, is this a good time right now? Is this the right
Yes.
time?
Yes.
And so, but what happens if the question, or what happens if the answer to that question is no? Are you then being open to life? Right. And that's,
good question.
that's
yes.
the question. So this is where we get into the hormonal contraception.
Okay.
Because now we're looking at intention, right? So contraception, by definition, if you look at the etymology of the word, you have contraception against conception.
Yes.
Conception is only available to happen within active intercourse.
Yes.
Right? So if we are going against conception, what that requires is the possibility of conception to be there. So
Yes.
kind of getting philosophical for a second.
Yeah,
But this is
Keep
the
going.
best. I did not come up with this myself. This is the best explanation I've ever received on this, is that contraception means that the possibility of conception must be there in order to
Yes.
be against it.
Yes.
So contraception, by definition, is something that you're going to do either before, during, or after an active intercourse
Yes.
to take away the possibility of procreation,
Yes.
of conceiving a new life. So NFP, when you are using the natural rhythms that God gave the woman's body to
Natural family planning.
natural family planning,
Yes.
when you are recognizing the woman's rhythms, which requires charting, requires
Yes.
cycle charting, and you're being prudential about what is happening in your marriage right now, what's happening in your family right now. Is this a good time or is this not a good time? Being open to life does not require that every act of intercourse must result in pregnancy. That's not even
Yes.
physically possible, right?
Exactly.
So how can you be open to life while using NFP? You are not placing any intentional barrier in an act of intercourse
Yes.
to
Contraception.
contracept or to not conceive.
To not conceive. Yes.
So if we're thinking about the pill, or actually let's start with the condom, because I think that's a really easy entry level idea, is that a condom is a barrier method. That
Yes.
is the umbrella that it's under. You are placing a barrier between you and your spouse
Yes.
when you are using a condom, right? Which goes against the totality of giving yourself totally to the other person.
Because you're not
placing a
giving your
barrier.
fertility.
Right.
Right. You're
You're
saying, I'm going to have sex with you, but I'm not going to give you my fertility.
Yeah. I'm not giving you all of me.
Yes.
There is a
Yes.
literal barrier
Exactly.
between you and your spouse. That is an intentional way of disrupting the natural consequence of sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of intentionally taking the procreative aspect out of the act.
Yes.
With natural family planning, you're not having sex during the fertile time.
Yes.
You're abstaining. And it's not a sin to abstain.
Exactly. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're not taking the act and disrupting it.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not engaging in the act at all, so
Yes.
that the possibility of conception is not even there
Yeah.
anymore.
So let's say somebody doesn't have the religious background, let's say, and how could you teach that person or share with that person what might be unhealthy about using a condom? Because the argument might be, well, we're not conceiving a child and then aborting the child. We're not. What's the difference between that and masturbating? Something to that effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? How would you maybe witness to that person that still might not be healthy?
Right. Yeah. So a story comes to mind. I don't know if you know, or our listeners know, Armida Escarcega. She is the NFP coordinator of the Diocese of Phoenix.
Yes.
She's a mentor of mine. I love her. And she is one of those women that will talk to anybody, and she'll bother anybody, and she loves everybody.
Yes.
And she told me the story one time where she was in adoration, and as she was walking out of the chapel, there was a man walking into the chapel, and they had assigned times that they were going to adoration. So they passed by each other a few weeks in a row.
Yes.
And so one week, instead of just smiling, like the awkward smile that you give to somebody when you pass them, she stopped him and introduced herself and somehow got to the topic of NFP with him.
Wow.
And he's a younger man. newly married, I believe. And he said to her, well, my wife and I use condoms and we're good with that. We're okay with that. Again, don't ask me how she was able to get this guy to say that.
Yes.
She just has a gift, I guess. But he just said, well, we're using condoms. We're okay with that. And she said, I want you to go home and ask your wife, does she ever feel used when you have sex?
Wow.
And he was kind of taken aback, like how I love her. I love my wife. How I would never use her. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, just go ask her and see what she has to say. Yeah. And the next week when she passed him again in adoration, he stopped her this time.
Yes.
Said, how did you know? He went home and asked his wife, and his wife said, actually, yeah. And she may not have even recognized it beforehand.
Exactly.
It may have been a subconscious thing that question pulled out of her.
Yes.
But I would just ask, is that whether you're a religious Catholic or not?
It doesn't matter, yeah.
No one wants to be used.
Yeah.
Or if we want to be used, it's because deep down we want to be loved.
Yeah.
So that's where I would go.
That's the healthy part. So it's, if you're in a loving relationship or attempting to be in a loving relationship and you're using condoms, the unhealthy part is when it comes back to using.
Yeah.
Right? One or both parties are going to feel used, which creates a divide, I'm suggesting, in the relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But with hormonal contraception,
yes,
if I was talking to a non-Catholic or non-religious person about that, I always go to the science of it.
Yes.
Because hormonal contraception is actually altering your biological hormones, altering the makeup of it. So we can get into that if you want.
Let's do it.
So with hormonal contraception, and that goes for the pill being the most common one, I think. There's now, IUDs, there's hormonal IUDs, there's the Depo-Provera shot that you can get every few months. There's now an implant called Nexplanon that sometimes actually has to be surgically removed.
Yes.
And these are all laced with synthetic hormones that are meant to shut down the reproductive system, essentially. And so there's three main mechanisms that these hormonal contraceptives come with.
Yes.
And so the first one is that it suppresses ovulation. So it works in the brain to suppress the hormones that talk to your reproductive system to tell it to do its thing. Mm-hmm. A woman should be ovulating once every cycle. That's going to be when the egg is released from her ovary. That event is actually more important than your period. We think about the period being the most obvious event, but a period is reliant on ovulation. Yes. So if you're not ovulating regularly, probably means you're not having a period regularly. So ovulation is very important. And actually, medical professionals are now calling it a fifth vital sign. It is that important for women's health that we are ovulating regularly.
Gotcha.
So the first mechanism or mode of action for any hormonal contraceptive is that it's going to suppress ovulation. Because if...
To where the woman does not ovulate or does not ovulate regularly.
Exactly. Well, the purpose is so that she will not ovulate. Period. Now, does she on the pill? Yes. Yes. Every once in a while. It's not common, but it does happen. But that's the first mode, is that it suppresses the hormones that are naturally supposed to be ebbing and flowing throughout her body, throughout her cycle. It's going to suppress those hormones to suppress ovulation. Yes. So the idea of that is if ovulation is happening, if ovulation is not happening, then there's no egg that's released from the ovary. And if you don't have an egg, you don't have a baby.
Yes.
So that's the first mode of action for all hormonal contraceptives. The second is going to be it dries up the cervical fluid. So cervical fluid, that is a very important thing for women's health. We're often taught, in high school health class, it takes an egg and a sperm to make a baby. It actually takes an egg, sperm, and mucus or cervical fluid to make a baby. 9 times out of 10, the couples that I was working with at Morningstar, a lot of times the couples that were struggling with infertility were not producing enough cervical fluid.
Okay.
Because it's so vital for fertility and for pregnancy. So the second mode of action with a hormonal contraceptive is that it's going to dry up that cervical fluid.
Yes.
And the cervical fluid is there to preserve the sperm. So it's made up of sugars that the sperm can feed off of. It's got, if you look at it under a microscope, it actually has little channels. You can think of it as like an Olympic swimming pool.
Yes.
And it actually allows the sperm to travel through and aids in sperm transportation, pushes it towards the egg.
Yes.
So if that fluid, that cervical fluid, is not there, the possibility of pregnancy becomes very low.
Gotcha.
And that cervical fluid is in response to hormones. So with the hormonal contraceptive, that second mode of action is it's going to dry up that cervical fluid for the intention of not allowing sperm to penetrate through the cervix to actually meet an egg,
Yes.
to conceive. So that's the second mode of action. But the third mode of action is really the one that kind of shakes your bones a little bit. So it will also thin the uterine lining. So a woman has the uterus, then she has the cervix below that, and then she has her vaginal canal below that. The uterus is her womb. That is where a baby would live for 9 months of pregnancy. And there is a uterine lining that is produced every cycle. And this is actually, when a woman's on her period, this is the bleeding that she sees. It's the sloughing of that uterine lining. It's blood cells and tissue. So hormonal contraceptive, that third mode of action, is that it thins that uterine lining. Because this uterine lining is where, if a new life is conceived, that's where that embryo is going to implant and continue to receive nutrients and grow. So if mode 1 fails and ovulation does happen, and mode 2 fails, where the fluid is not more or less dry enough, I guess, to prevent sperm from traveling through, you actually conceive. Egg and sperm come together. You conceive a new life.
Yes.
At that very moment, we have a brand new human life. That one-celled human being has its very own DNA completely separate from the mother. It is a brand new human life.
Yes.
It takes about 7 to 10 days for that human life to implant, from conception to implantation, implanting in the uterine lining. If the uterine lining is not there or too thin, that human life will not be able to implant.
Kind of starves the new.
Yes. And unfortunately, which is not the correct word here, but will die.
Yes.
It will not be able to continue to
So
receive
it becomes an
nutrients and
abortive
live.
patient.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And so the mother will never know that she was a mother.
Yes.
And the father will never know that he was a father.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I feel like the rubber meets the road with it. And I've actually had, I'm thinking of one couple that I had for a marriage prep class. They were engaged and she had an IUD.
Yes.
And I actually can't take credit for it. It was the class she took right before in her marriage prep classes. But when she got to NFP, she got to my class, she pulled me aside afterwards and she said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I have an IUD, but I have an appointment to get it removed." I was like, "That's awesome."
Yes.
Why? And I was like, why did you decide to get it removed? And she said it was because she learned this at her previous class, called God's Plan for a Joy-Filled Marriage. That's another marriage prep class. So she had never been taught that. Never been taught that is what could have been happening.
Takes place. Yes.
Yeah. And so when you educate women about these actual effects of the pill, whatever hormonal contraceptive they're on, when you educate them as to what exactly this is doing to your body, it doesn't, religion is set aside, right? Like,
exactly.
We can understand, okay, this isn't good for me.
Yeah, you can see physiologically this is not healthy.
Yes.
Right, it's not good for the woman. It's not good for her health. It's adversely affecting her health, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yes.
And how does it affect, like, let's say if I'm a woman, I've been on birth hormonal contraceptives for some time. Yeah. Does it affect my ability after to conceive and have children?
That's a good question. So there's kind of a multi-level we could go here, but it depends, first of all, on why she was put on the pill or whatever hormonal contraception at the beginning.
Yes.
A lot of teenagers are put on the pill because they have irregular periods. And that's actually my own story. A lot of young girls are put on the pill because of painful periods, irregular periods, acne, whatever, you name it, whatever it is. And so rather than getting to the root cause of why are you experiencing those things, that's your body telling you something's off. But why are you experiencing it? The typical way to treat that right now in conventional medicine is to give the pill.
Yes.
And I'm very careful about, I never want to demonize doctors because as I'm learning more and more about this, I'm realizing they are not taught this in medical school at all. There is nothing in medical school that covers NFP, using that for
Really?
root cause medicine. It might be on one slide in a PowerPoint about contraceptives, but other than that, there's nothing.
Wow.
And so this is what they're taught. And so this is the tool they have in their toolbox. Most doctors, conventional doctors. So I'm very hesitant to just try to demonize the doctors because that's really all they know. But that is so common for young girls to be put on the pill for that. And then they stay on it for however long. They get married, then decide they want children. They get off the pill and they can't get pregnant. And it's because the pill wasn't fixing anything.
Exactly.
It was just
masking.
placing a Band-Aid. It was masking
Yes.
the symptoms. So now at age 30 or however old, now they have a story of infertility because what their body was telling them 10, 15 years ago was not addressed properly, right? So an infertility is not a diagnosis. It's a symptom of something going on.
Yes.
Right? There is a reason that a couple is not able to conceive.
Exactly.
So this is where we get into charting the cycle for the sake of medicine and understanding what is actually going on in your body that's causing this, right?
I'm really moved by what you said. Doctors don't even know.
Yeah.
Immediately in my mind, I think Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah.
They're not even taught the truth. So it's a way of even repressing Christ in a way by repressing the truth that they're not even taught. But the evidence is out there. I mean, NFP has been around for some time.
Yeah.
Right? People have been naturally charting in some way, shape, or form.
For decades now.
Exactly.
I mean, a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's become more scientific in the last
really
few decades.
Scary
but
that doctors don't know. So they'll give a pill that can do physical harm to a person for their comfort, like aspirin. Oh, I'm going to reduce the pain, right? Except for aspirin doesn't have those side effects. So that's really pretty mind-blowing, right?
I do have some hope, though. There are people out there that are starting to really try to infiltrate medical schools. Facts About Fertility is a great organization that is doing just that. Dr. Marguerite Duane, she's the founder of that organization, and co-founder.
Yes.
And her main mission is to teach med students this exact thing of how to chart the cycle and how to practice medicine with it. So there is hope. It is getting there, but we have a long way to go.
Gotcha. So I kind of missed this. How did you get involved in this, and what is it that you do?
Yeah. So the reason I don't have a DR next to my name, which is very unfortunate. I wish I did. But this passion comes from my own story. So at 16, I was put on the pill because I had irregular periods. I just never know when they were coming. Went to my doctor, no questions asked. I was only on it for about 2 months because it made me so moody. Yes. And we can talk about that too, given this there's a lot of mental health issues that come with hormonal contraception too. But it made me very moody. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm done with this. I was over it. My mom was over it. And so after about 2 months, I just decided, you know what? It doesn't really matter to me. I can go back to having irregular periods. And of course they went back to irregular because the pill didn't heal anything.
Exactly.
And so then about 2 years later, when I was 18, I was a senior in high school, and I was really involved at my church youth group at the time. And there was a talk given by this woman who, I think it was one of our core members or something. And she talked about NFP, but she talked about how it can be used for medicine too, and helping diagnose and treat women that are struggling with unwanted reproductive issues. And that light bulb just clicked. And I'm like, I had no idea. At 18, not married, not wanting to have kids. I'm very much single. And so I remember going to the girl afterwards and totally picking her brain. She told me about this clinic called Morningstar OBGYN and said, this is a clinic that we have in the Phoenix area that can help you. So I went back home to my mom and I said, hey, I told her about the experience, and I said, I want to go to this new clinic and see what other options they have for me. And my mom was for that, but she said, let's go back to your regular doctor and just see what other options they have for you, which I thought was prudent. So I went back to my regular doctor, and and at this point, and I think it was because of the talk that I heard, at this point I knew I didn't want the pill. Yeah. And I knew I didn't want the pill because if I had an irregular period, that means I had irregular ovulation. Because remember what I said earlier, a period is reliant on ovulation, not the other way around. So if ovulation isn't happening regularly, then your period isn't happening regularly. Yeah. So I knew I didn't want the pill, and it was because I knew I was ovulating irregularly, if at all. And the pill wouldn't help me ovulate. It would just suppress that even more.
Got it. Yes.
That's what I knew, which I think is actually more than any typical 18-year-old, which I'm grateful for. So I went to that doctor and I said, I'm still having irregular periods, but I don't want the pill. What else can you offer? And she was very kind. I mean, this is a doctor. She's brilliant. She went to med school. I mean, that's more than I can say. And she very kindly said, "Can I ask why you don't want the pill?" And I said, "Well, if my problem is that I'm not ovulating regularly, the pill isn't going to help me do that." And she looked at me square in the face and said, "Why do you want to ovulate?" And it was at that moment that I was like, we are speaking two different languages. Yes. But and again, I really tried to not demonize these doctors, because this is what she was taught. Why do you need to ovulate if you're 18 and not intending on getting pregnant anytime soon? Yes. Right? But we need to understand that ovulation is that vital sign. It is so important for any cycling woman, no matter what age you are at. Mm-hmm. So I left her office and I went to Morningstar. And when I went there, they immediately started teaching me how to chart with the Creighton Method. Yes. And then they did blood work and they did an ultrasound on my ovaries to see what was going on. And from those three things, they were able to diagnose me with what's called PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome. Yes. So with that, basically, you're not ovulating regularly. Your eggs are trying to mature to ovulate, and they kind of get to half mature, and then they stall. Yes. You often you do have hormonal imbalances with that. Oftentimes you'll have more estrogen than necessary, which can cause abnormal bleeding. You'll have enlarged ovaries oftentimes too with that. So the body is not healthy. Exactly. And my irregular periods were telling me that my body was not healthy. So once I found a doctor that was able to dig deeper into the cause of that, PCOS, we were able to start treatment from that diagnosis. So typical treatments are going to be metformin, which is an actual medication that you might have with diabetes, because there's insulin resistance issues going on. That's also common for PCOS too. So metformin, different supplements, diet, things like that. For me, what moved the needle was diet and exercise. I was in college at this point. I didn't want to change my diet. I actually resisted that for a long time. But when I got to the point where medications, they just weren't cutting it, and I wasn't seeing, and the reason I knew it wasn't cutting it is because I was charting. So I could see on my chart if a medication or a diet or a supplement was changing anything. I could see that. And so as I was charting, you're collecting data. That's all you're doing. Yes. I was seeing that for me personally, the medications weren't covering it. So once I got to the point where I was like, gotta get more protein, I guess. And less carbs, less sugar, more protein. That's pretty much what I did. Yes. And I started seeing things change. So at around this same time too, I met Sean, my husband. We met when I was in college, got married shortly afterward. And the reason that this whole journey that I took for a couple of years previous to marriage, the reason that's so important is because had I waited until marriage to address those problems, I wasn't ovulating. Yes. And if we wanted to conceive right away. And so hands down, we would have had a story of infertility if I had not gone through that as a single woman. Yes. So my passion is primarily in teaching really young women about the pill and why it's not good for you. and what your alternative is. Because if you're on the pill for extremely painful periods, it's not going to be easy to just say, oh, I'm not taking that anymore.
Exactly.
Because then you're going back to something incredibly painful.
Yep.
So how can I convince you that the medication that you're on, yes, it might be helping your symptoms. Absolutely.
Exactly.
But it's doing that because it's shutting down a whole organ system.
Yeah.
No other part of medicine does that.
Can I go back to this doctor real quick? Because once again, I'm shocked by the medical world. When she asked you, why do you want to ovulate? It sounds to me like there's something cultural that says to women, this is either an unwanted burden or I don't know what to call it, something that's unwanted, meaning there's something about your natural femininity that is a burden, that is holding you back. Why not just get rid of it?
Yeah.
Right? Until you need it again. Then I guess I don't know what you do after that.
Yeah. Well, I think it just comes from this culture of if you don't want a baby, you just suppress your hormones.
Yeah.
So that you don't ovulate, so that you don't have a baby.
Yes.
My body wasn't ovulating with or without the pill, right? So it's this idea, it's this cultural idea, I think, that we're now experiencing, I think really since the sexual revolution.
Yes.
That's around the time when the pill actually came out. We're recognizing now that, okay, well, sex is just sex. Going back to the pleasure aspect, right? If we're taking the pleasure, if we're only taking that, who cares about the health of the female body at that point?
Yeah, and who cares about having a baby?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So we're just having sex for the sake of pleasure, right? But even in that case, are we even committed? Can we be committed? That could be a question we can talk about moving forward. So let's continue to move into, so what do you do to help people today?
Yeah. Well, I owe a lot of my training to Morningstar. They were incredible with just giving me the tools that I needed to help these women. So I'm trained in getting certified and teaching the Creighton method. And that being a more medical model, right? I am trained to be able to see and identify some hormonal imbalances that could be revealed on a chart.
Yes.
So if I see that, that's not a diagnosis, right? I am not trained to diagnose you,
Exactly.
but I can see, okay, you're having this, this, and this. This is a really good reason to go see a doctor. And I'm going to refer you to one that knows how to read your chart.
Exactly.
So that they can actually properly diagnose you from there and treat you. So again, we're just collecting data, we're reading the data, and then we can confirm our thoughts about the data from blood work, ultrasound, different diagnostic tests.
Gotcha.
So to give you an example, if a woman is so after ovulation, she should have about 2-ish weeks after her ovulation until her next period. That should be very stable. So if you're thinking of I'll outline it.
Gotcha.
If you're thinking of a whole cycle, she starts from the first day of her period. That's day 1 of her cycle. And the cycle ends the day before her next period.
Yes.
So if we're thinking of a regular cycle, we're thinking about 28, 30 days. So what should be happening is she should be ovulating, right? Somewhere in the middle. If you have a regular cycle, it's going to be around day 14 or so. 2 weeks later, she'll have her period. So that time from ovulation to your period should be very stable, very stable. Like I'm talking not even like a 1-day variant, like barely. Wow. It should be very stable. The pre-ovulation phase, so from your period until you ovulate, that's the phase that can be more variable.
Okay.
So for women who have irregular periods, if they are charting and they can pinpoint the time of ovulation based on their chart, they will still know, okay, I have about 2 weeks left until my next period.
Yes.
Even if you had a month, 2 months, 3 months prior to that ovulation,
Got it.
You'll still know when your period is coming, which I think is a huge benefit. So something that I'm looking at in a chart is how stable is that post-ovulation phase?
Yes.
Or how short is it? So the dominant hormone in that phase, the post-ovulation phase, the dominant hormone is going to be progesterone.
Okay.
And progesterone it is called progesterone because it is pro-gestation. It is essential for continuation of pregnancy. It's also essential for a healthy mental state. It's actually a calming hormone.
For the woman.
For the woman.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Women who have intense PMS, more times than not, they have low progesterone.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. It is an essential hormone for the woman's health, for her mental health, but also if she's trying to get pregnant,
And do
does get
typical
pregnant.
doctors know this, or would they prescribe progesterone instead of the pill?
So that's kind of where we're getting at with
Got it.
with this new type of medicine that people are starting to enter into if they want to get into this more root cause medicine. So the big umbrella term for it is restorative reproductive medicine.
Okay.
That's going to be the umbrella term.
Say that again.
Restorative reproductive medicine. So you are
Perfect.
restoring the reproductive system
Got it.
instead of placing a Band-Aid on it, right?
Yes.
And so that's the big umbrella term. And then there's different paths or methods
Mm-hmm.
of which to go about that. So NAPRO technology, that's going to be, it stands for natural procreative technology. This is
Yes.
going to be more of the medical arm to the Creighton method of charting. You have things like FEM, which is, I might butcher this, fertility education, I think, and medical management. I know that MM is medical management.
Yes.
So that's another arm or way to do that. Neo-fertility is another one coming out where it's all charting the cycle.
Gotcha.
And then diagnosing and treating.
So is it right for me to assume, given what you're saying, a majority of American women don't have any idea about what you're talking about?
No.
So if I'm a 30-something-year-old female, been on the pill for years, and I'm struggling to conceive, where would I direct that person if I want them to get this type of medical assistance?
Yeah. Well, let's start with, first of all, kind of the psychology of that, because when you've been on the pill for so long, you don't know who you are off the pill. And that can be a very scary thing, especially if you went on for pain.
Yes.
Or maybe you had cystic acne, right? And that's what you went on the pill for. The pill is really good at suppressing symptoms. Like, I'll give it that, but it's not doing it in a restorative way, in a healthy way.
Good.
So there might be a lot of fear of the thought of coming off of it, right?
Yes.
So we need to address that first. And I think I would always recommend making sure that you are working with a health professional as you are getting off of it, right? Some doctors will say, if you're taking the pill, for example, some doctors will say, you can stop it at any time. Other doctors will say, finish out the pill packet and then stop. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to give one way or another, but there are specific ways that you would need to go about getting off of it. So definitely
getting off the pill.
Off the pill, yeah.
Yes.
Or getting your IUD removed, or I believe with the shot, you just wouldn't go get your next shot that you have planned. Next plan on implant, getting that removed, right? Whatever device you're using, removing it or just no longer using it. Definitely work alongside a doctor. Now, if kind of caveat with that though is that what kind of doctor are you working with?
Exactly. Yes.
So there are so many resources out there now for finding good doctors that are going to be for you getting off of hormonal contraception and then actually understanding, okay, what's causing that unwanted symptom, or maybe you had no unwanted symptoms. Maybe you were just on it as a contraceptive, right? Getting off of it. There's a lot of nutrient depletion when you're on birth control. So making sure that you're getting the supplements and everything that you need to restore your health. It totally messes up your gut. So working with somebody that can help restore that, eating healthier, so on and so forth. So definitely working with a medical professional. And I will say there are, I would say facts about fertility. I already mentioned that. They have, I believe, a directory of doctors to go to. My Catholic
that practice restorative medicine.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, that practices medicine. My Catholic doctor is another one. They're all telehealth.
Yes.
And then I'm trying to think of FEM, FEMM. If you go to their website, they have a directory of good doctors. So there's places to find these doctors. A lot of times it will be telehealth, unless you are lucky enough to live close to someone that can help you. But working with a medical professional, restoring your body, restoring the nutrients that it's been depleted from for so long. So,
Good.
Yeah.
So now, what do you do today that helps people learn how to chart, learn What?
Yeah. So now that I've stepped away from Morningstar
Mm-hmm.
and I have my own, I guess you could call it business. It's more of an intense hobby right now than a business, but it's called Truth and Fertility.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm teaching women virtually how to chart their cycles with Creighton.
Wow.
So that's doing very similar things as to what I was doing at Morningstar, just virtually.
Yes.
On my own time when my family time allows for that. So I started that more recently and taking new clients.
Good, yeah.
And then I also started a podcast too. So that's
what's
also
the name of the podcast?
Truth and Fertility.
Okay.
Yep. And I actually started it when I was still in my training because I'm a very out loud thinker.
Good.
It was really just a way for me to get all the things that I was learning and talk about it to a microphone. And now since the beginning of 2025, I've really tried to transition it more into an interview-based podcast, so something like this.
Yes.
Still virtual, but I realized my knowledge is very limited, and there are so many people out there that are much smarter than me when it comes to some just different trajectories in this world that you can go into. So I've started interviewing more people, and that's been really fun. It's been really good. I've learned so much from so many people. So that's Truth and Fertility. It's Apple.
So
Spotify.
anybody that just kind of wanted to learn more about charting, they can go to you, find out how to chart, and then get more information if they're having struggles conceiving.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest, I think, things that, 'cause that's not only a reproductive health issue, but that's a heart issue too.
Yes.
That's really hard. And that's to say the very least about it. And so, when a couple is struggling with infertility, like I said earlier, that's a symptom. That's not the diagnosis.
Exactly.
And here's another thing. A lot of doctors don't see it as that. They see it as a diagnosis. They say unexplained infertility because with all the blood work and ultrasounds and everything that they did, they can't figure out why you're experiencing infertility.
Yes.
So it's called unexplained. And then the only option they give you at that point to conceive is IVF.
Gotcha.
And so it's kind of this spiral of if we can't get to the root, if we can't see infertility as a symptom, not just a diagnosis, because a diagnosis seems like the end, right? Like that's a barrier. Like we got to get through that diagnosis. A symptom, there's so much more to be learned from that. If we can understand, okay, your body is causing this symptom, let's dive deeper and understand why. Yeah. And so that's what this type of medicine is attempting to do.
Like even what you said about diet affecting ovulation.
Yeah.
Right, something as simple as that. That's a big deal. So somebody could be struggling with infertility because of their diet and not
possibly
even know that that's what's adversely affecting their ovulation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more of a simplified way, I think, of saying it. But I think just to give an example for women who have PCOS, estrogen is typically too high. That's if you've heard of estrogen dominance, right?
No, I haven't. But.
Okay, so that's kind of like the phrase right now. But you have too much estrogen, which can cause irregular bleeding. It can cause, it can lead to cancer even down in the future. So there are some long-term health effects that we're looking at too if these things are not properly treated and addressed. So with PCOS, the reason that a diet can be so essential to helping a woman actually begin to ovulate, hopefully regularly, is especially because sugar plays, and I can't actually go into the reasons why because I don't have that MD next to my name, but I do know that sugar plays a really bad role on our hormones, and our hormones are directing the whole reproductive process. So if we're disrupting our hormones, we're disrupting that reproductive process. We're disrupting ovulation, which means we're disrupting your period. So, sugar can play a huge role.
So diet does play a big role
Mm-hmm.
in the whole thing.
Yeah.
In a woman's ability to be healthily fertile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So I will say sometimes it takes more than just diet change, but that's still a really good start. Like that's not going to harm anything if you start eating healthier.
Especially once again dealing with a culture that a majority don't even understand, or they've been told there's a simple way to fix your problem, right? Where you don't really have to do any of these other things, but it's very unhealthy.
Yeah.
going back to, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about how the pill, or what do you call it again?
Birth control, hormonal contraceptive.
Hormonal contraceptives adversely affect a woman's mood.
Yeah.
So what do we know about that? How can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah. So looking at the typical cycle, a healthy cycle, we have estrogen being dominant in the pre-ovulation phase. We have progesterone being dominant in the post-ovulation phase. They should be ebbing and flowing.
Yes.
We are not straight across. Women are not straight across. We're not meant to be straight across.
Gotcha.
There's an ebb and flow to our hormones. And so that is how it is meant to be. A healthy woman should have this natural ebb and flow. This does a lot for our brain development too. We need estrogen and progesterone, specifically adolescent girls need this proper balance of estrogen and progesterone for healthy brain development. And a female brain doesn't fully develop until, I believe, it's age 25. And how many women are put on the pill before age 25?
Yes.
So what the pill is doing is it's suppressing those natural hormones, estrogen and progesterone, and it's giving you a synthetic version of those hormones. So it kind of depends on what type of hormonal contraceptive you're on, but I guess a very common one is called a combination pill. So it's going to have synthetic estrogen and synthetic progesterone, which is called progestin. And so these two hormones are going to be at the same level throughout the whole, you're not even cycling anymore. So it's going to be just the same level all the time.
Yes.
There's not that natural ebb and flow. They are synthetic hormones. They're not natural to your body. They're not chemically the same as the hormones that your body is actually producing.
It'd be like a man taking steroids.
Yeah. So when you are, and so those synthetic hormones are suppressing those natural ebb and flow of your natural hormones.
Yes.
So when you no longer have those essential biological hormones that are essential for brain development, bone development, everything in your body is, especially for a female, I believe in every part of medicine, every doctor should be asking, what does your cycle look like? Yes. Because of how it's not just the reproductive system. Your hormones are so vital for your whole body, for proper health and for everything to be working properly. So anyhow, when you're introducing those hormonal contraceptives, you're suppressing those natural hormones. So I mentioned earlier progesterone, that being a more calming hormone.
Yes.
It lessens anxiety. It calms your brain. It allows you to rest. It kind of forces you to rest because especially right before your period, right? You don't feel like doing a crazy workout, right? That's natural because it's progesterone that's supposed to be calming you. If you're too low on progesterone, this is when we see women having intense PMS symptoms. Or if you're on the pill and you're not even producing your own progesterone and you're introducing a synthetic version of that, you don't have that calming hormone anymore. You don't have that anxiety lessening hormone anymore. And so it's so common for women who are put on the pill to experience those mood swings and mood symptoms.
Yes. So
they either get off of it, like in my case, or they stay on, but then they're offered an antidepressant.
Wow.
I was trying to look up if there was a percentage of women who are on the pill that are also on an antidepressant. I couldn't find one. Maybe if somebody wants to deep dive into that, but I do know that it is common for women who are on the pill or any sort of hormonal contraceptive.
So the pill can have significant impact on a woman's mental health.
Absolutely. Yes,
wow.
Absolutely. It also intensely decreases libido too. And that's kind of like it's kind of like a catch-22 because a lot of women to use it for a contraceptive, it's because they want to be able to have sex whenever.
Yeah.
But now you're taking a medication that's suppressing ovulation,
yes,
but it's also not giving you any desire to have sex at all.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things that are, when you mess with hormones, you mess with so many other parts of the body.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine, given what you said, a woman taking the pill, going to the doctor, says, I have low libido. And the doctor then saying, well, take testosterone to increase your libido.
Yeah.
So then you're just on a cocktail of any number of drugs. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So going back to, let's say, I know when we were getting married, they taught us NFP, right, and charting. And something that was I questioned at the time was there was nothing else taught, meaning my wife and I didn't practice anything, right? We just, for I don't know how many years, had babies as the babies came.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't chart. We didn't do anything. Is that healthy? Is that not healthy?
It's really interesting. So I am a huge proponent in all couples charting.
Yes, yes.
For multiple reasons. I would say the first thing is responsible parenthood. There might be times when when it is not prudent to add
Have
another child
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason that is.
Absolutely.
And so that would require NFP, right? That would require responsible parenthood.
Yes.
And I use the term responsible parenthood because that's what St. Paul VI uses in Humana Vitae. So there's that, right? I also think that there's a lot of benefits with charting aside from the family planning aspect.
Health benefits.
When it comes to intimacy in your marriage.
Okay, yeah.
So first of all, whenever I teach couples how to chart, whether they're engaged, married, the man takes over the charting. The
job.
Chart, that is his job. I kind of sometimes tongue-in-cheek joke, like, if I see hearts above the eyes, I know it's not you. Like, I need to see man handwriting on this.
Yes.
Because when you are on the pill, that's the woman's thing. She has to remember to take it. It's on her. Or if she gets a shot, that's on her.
Yes.
Right? It's all on the woman. NFP is not easy. It is not easy.
Yeah, it takes some work.
It takes a lot of work. And if it's only the woman that is doing the observations, charting at the end of the day, figuring out when she's fertile and infertile, and that she becomes a gatekeeper in saying, yes, we can have sex, or no, we can't.
Exactly.
And then the man is just like, okay, like he has no idea.
Yeah.
So I always say, man, you, future husband, you are taking over the charting. Because what that requires is a 10-second conversation at the end of the day.
Yes.
To say, hey, honey, what'd you see today? I saw this. Write it down. Bam, done.
Yeah.
But what that does is sometimes it's just that, and that's fine. Sometimes it goes into a deeper conversation of, what are you thinking this month?
Yes.
What's our discernment looking like this month for family planning, right? It goes into that conversation. And the man is no longer relying solely on the woman's efforts to understand when he can and cannot have sex. Right? Yeah. Even the healthiest of marriages, if you don't have constant and good communication about this very important aspect of marriage and family life, that can spiral into a lot of unhealthy things, as you probably know. Yeah. So,
because that's one of the difficulties with NFP or other charting things is abstinence. Yeah. Right? You go through times of abstinence, and which is going to be difficult for any person.
Yes.
So that becomes, I think, a big question. How do we manage abstinence? I have a client who's they're abstaining for some reason, and he's asking the question, well, why does the church teach we can only have like orgasm during the sexual? Why can't we do other things during our fertile times? Yeah. And the answer is what?
Gift of self. The answer is orgasm is meant to be, like, actually St. John Paul II talks about this in Theology of the Body. Like, the goal is that orgasm is happening for both the husband and the wife, preferably at the same time. That can be difficult, but preferably at the same time, because it is that heightened experience of that gift of self.
Yes.
It is going back to the pleasure, right? The pleasure is a good, but when it is rightly ordered to be a gift of self. So if you're taking that pleasure out of the sexual act, of that act that is supposed to be unifying for the husband and wife, literally biologically unifying for the husband and wife, if you're taking that out, then you're just looking at the pleasure again. Even if you're saying, but I love my wife, I would never use her, but I love my husband, I would never use him.
Yes.
The act itself is saying something different than what you're intending and wanting to say.
Yes. So going back, so good. This is a part. I've wanted to talk to someone about this for years. Because I
hope I
actually
have a
went
good
to a Human Life International conference and asked them the question. Because my problem was, a lot of people, I think, come out of Catholic marriage prep with the idea that they have to chart. Nobody teaches, hey, there is this other option. You cannot chart at all. And just, my mom had 13 kids. We've had 8 children. I know many people who don't and are okay. But a lot of people aren't given the option. It's like, you can't use artificial birth control. So the only other option is NFP.
Yeah.
And I would just argue that, well, there's another option.
Yeah.
Right, for people who can manage it. Does that seem to make sense, or does that sound problematic?
I want to push back on it a little bit.
Yes, please.
Because I want to go back to that story about the husband and wife who were using condoms, and he went to his wife and said, "Do you feel used?" And I am not saying this across the board at all.
Yes.
I am not judging any marriage. I'm just coming from my own experience, even of if sex is always on the table, always, right? There's never a reason to say no, or there's never
there's natural reasons.
There's natural reasons, yes, but when you're using NFP to avoid pregnancy, there is a natural ebb and flow of the times where it's possible and it's not. And
so
I think
natural opportunities. You're saying the abstinence is healthy.
Yes.
Is what I think you're arguing.
Periodic abstinence is healthy.
Yes.
In a marriage, because it requires building intimacy in other areas aside from sex.
Gotcha.
Sexual intimacy is incredibly important, and it is the renewal of vows between a husband and a wife every single time. But if that's the only intimacy that you have, then we have a problem.
Yes, I got it.
So in these times of built-in abstinence, right? And again, I'm not saying this across the board.
No, I hear what you're saying.
There are couples that rock at other types of intimacy, and
Absolutely.
that's great. But I'll tell you, for me and my husband, the times that is not on the table and that we're in a time of abstinence, it would be very unhealthy for us to just go in separate rooms and do our own thing, like maybe read a book or watch TV or something.
Yes.
Not to say that's always unhealthy, but if that's the mode you're getting into when sex is off the table, there's a lack of intimacy there. So couples need to learn how to sit on a couch and talk, or other forms of intimacy. Yes, we have intellectual intimacy, communicative intimacy, spiritual intimacy, emotional intimacy. These are all types of intimacy.
But in truth, this is an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I can have sex with my wife every day and have other.
Yes.
And talk, and we go out for walks, and we hold hands, and we do dates, and we do good co-parenting. So that is possible.
That is a possibility.
Yes, okay.
I'd say that is probably rare for couples.
Gotcha.
To have a very healthy, well-rounded intimacy and having sex every day. Not saying that it's not possible, but...
Because when I hear what you're saying, I think let's say if you're having sex before marriage, I think that is very problematic for developing other forms of intimacy because it becomes compulsive outside of marriage, right? But inside of marriage, it doesn't have that same effect. I always ask people, can you get addicted to sex in a sacramental marriage, right? I would argue the answer is no. Something else, you may be stuck on porn or something, but your acts with your spouse are not going to produce compulsive behavior.
I think I disagree with you.
Okay, good. Awesome.
Because as much as a husband and wife, as much as they love the Lord, as much as they go to Mass, as much as they pray together, use can really easily slide its way in there.
Yeah.
And whether or not the intention is use, and the intention may not even be use, but as a woman, I think this is more on the side of the woman too. As a woman, if sex was on the table every single night, I love my husband, but that would be exhausting.
Yeah.
And
especially with, once again, 3 kids under 6,
and it's also stage
is
of life.
Which is another question about this whole deal. Well, that could be another topic, but I do want to go. So there's some questions about sexuality is my point. How do you maintain sexuality practicing NFP? A number of people I know, including, another people I know and work with, struggle with the abstinent part, right? And some people have argued that it becomes also difficult when, right, a woman's desire for sex is during her fertile period, but you're not having sex during the fertile period.
And that is tough.
So that, once again, there are some sacrifices, crosses that need to be dealt with even when you're doing NFP type of charting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be talked about because, once again, when we're going through marriage prep, we've been married 32 years, almost 33. There was this talk like, it's going to make your sex life so much more fruitful.
They always give you the benefits.
Yes. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I hear that, but when I talk to men individually, I have not met one man, period, who is like excited, like feels NFP has improved their sexual intimacy. I don't know if there's a man out there that I've met that has improved.
I really wonder what my husband would have to say about that.
Oh, maybe we'll have both of you on next.
That would be cool. I don't know if I'm actually going to ask him after this.
Ask him, yeah.
Because when sex is always on the table for a woman's heart, and I'm coming from having 3 kids, 5 and under.
Yes.
I have my own intense hobby / business. I have motherhood. I have wifehood. I have all of those things. I think it would be very easy for resentment to creep in to say, I've spent the whole day wiping butts and cleaning the couch a 3rd time because milk was spilled on it again. That was this morning. And, and now I have to have sex tonight.
Yes.
It becomes a have to.
Yes. Okay.
It becomes a chore. It becomes
like all the other chores of the day.
Like all the other things of the day. I've taken care of these kids and now I have to take care of my husband.
Yes.
It becomes a have to. It becomes a chore.
Absolutely.
When in all reality, it is meant to be the
pinnacle.
The pinnacle of your marriage. It is meant to be the, and so I think intentionality is really important with that.
Absolutely.
Right. So if the wife is able to well communicate, which I would argue she should practice this no matter what season of life she's in, able to communicate to her husband how she's feeling, what that day looked like, if today is a yes or a no, like, gotcha. and that husband is able to respect those.
That's the big deal, right? How do you say no and maintain your connection?
Exactly.
Right. Dr. Gottman talks about that. There should be a kind of a formula even for how you say no when one party approaches the other for intimacy. Exactly. It shouldn't be put off or.
Yeah. And I'll say my husband has said this, so I can speak for him in this and that. When I say no because I'm tired or because I've wiped 3 butts today or whatever it is. That's like, I don't know how you say that. It's just what's on the forefront. No matter what the reasoning is, he takes that as a rejection of himself. And that's hard for him.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I've had to learn to be empathetic towards. And I've had to learn to respect that too. Absolutely. Because I want him to respect my reasons, but I need to respect his reasons too, right? Yeah. So there's a real communication requirement in that.
Absolutely. Because it's a very vulnerable thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
For both parties.
So going back to NFP, no, I wouldn't say across the board it is 100% necessary for every single marriage in order to be healthy. Yeah. I think that's an extreme statement. Yeah. But I would make the argument of when there are times when abstinence is required, even if the two of you want to engage in it, but you have prudently decided and discerned that this is not the time to bring another child into this world, how can we maintain this intimacy? It requires that practice of other types of intimacy.
Absolutely.
When if sex was always on the table, you can practice other types of intimacy, but that's never a requirement.
Yes.
Or
Sex is
requirement's not the
required in
word,
marriage, but
it's not as easily obtained, I guess, unless you're super intentional about making that happen.
Gotcha.
If I'm saying that
I think I get it.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically you're saying if sex is always on the table, it can become some type of burden that takes away from other forms of intimacy, which are essential in maintaining the marital, let's call it bliss.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring up the story about the couple using condoms in our what we're talking about right now, the couple is not contracepting. They're not even using NFP, right?
Yes.
But I think the same effect could sneak in that when you are contracepting, sex is always on the table.
Yes.
When you're not using NFP,
that's why you're there
sex is always on the table.
Yes.
And so this idea of use and resentment can start to creep in either scenario.
So I think in conclusion, I hear and understand your argument, and me and you are on different pages. And maybe that's a masculine thing. Maybe it's a masculine
I think that has
thing,
a lot to do with it, actually.
Right? I think sex can be always on the table and be okay. Meaning, just because it's on the table, I don't know if a man in general is always going to choose or ask his wife for sex, especially if he's, once again, and this is what's difficult, because we come from a community where we're open to life and we see people with many kids. A majority of America is not even understanding.
Right. Why the heck we would do that?
Right. I told a client the other day, oh yeah, we have or I was talking about somebody having a lot of kids. And the client said, well, that's just irresponsible. And I was kind of, that's a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
Right. So understanding where people may listen to us that have no real idea of why would you want to be open to life and have as many children that come, or even believe negatively that that's irresponsible, right? So having said that, I think in a family that's open to life, I think most men understand, wow, my wife's dealing with, 3 babies, 5 and under. I'm not going to pressure her to have sex every night just because it's available or because we have access to it. Once again, maybe we'll have a panel of women and men and see, just to understand what people feel and maybe even educate people, couples in particular, on how to say no.
Yeah.
I think it's such a big deal, right? A lot of men I work with feel insecure around sex because they don't know when or how to approach their wives in a way that is safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, my husband and I have had to have the hard ongoing conversations about, like I said earlier, when I say no, he sees that as a rejection. And I mean, from my husband's words, like if I said yes, even if he felt like a no, he would get to a yes. Like I think, in general, the male libido is higher.
It's just different.
Right. And so it's going to be a different experience for husband and wife.
Yes.
I also want to make a point too, to say that, again, it's not a requirement for every couple. And also too, I threw the word responsible parenthood out there.
Yes.
That doesn't mean you are irresponsible if you have 10 kids.
Exactly.
Right? That it's not to say the opposite of that is true. It's to say, and again, I'm using the words from Humana Vitae, responsible parenthood, in that you are making a prudential decision every cycle.
Yes.
Of, is this the time? And so sometimes that calls you to say, it is not prudent right now. And that, I would say, is responsible parenthood, if you were properly discerning that. Or if you're saying yes, like we have no real reason to say no, that's the gift of generosity. Yeah. So whether a couple has 3 kids, whether they have 10 kids, I don't think one is being responsible or irresponsible just given the amount of kids that they have. It goes deeper than that. And that's why the church also never says, well, for this reason, you're allowed to abstain, but for this reason, you're not. And it's because every couple is so different. Every couple has a different dynamic, different things going on in their life. And for one couple, one reason might give them the reason to not have another kid. For a different couple, if they're experiencing that same thing, they might say, but we can still be generous. And that's not responsible or irresponsible on either part. It's just that individual discernment.
The decision that may be different.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Which is perfectly fine, right?
Yes.
There's not one way of doing the right thing. Right? Good.
Yeah.
Well, very exciting dialogue.
Great.
We could go on. Is there anything in particular you wanted to share that maybe you haven't shared or give witness to that you haven't given witness to?
Yeah, I just think that just going back to my own story of being on the pill, being off the pill, charting my cycle, diagnosis, treatment, babies. Yeah, I would not have the 3 individual children that I have today from that egg and that sperm that created that individual child. Those 3 children would not be here today if it weren't for the sake of me doing the hard work as a single woman, figuring out my cycle, understanding why it was unhealthy, and seeking health.
Wow.
So I mean, I will teach for marriage prep. I'll teach for couples struggling with infertility. I'll teach whoever, but my main passion is to help single women learn to chart and receive health or receive help, diagnosis, treatment, not just being given the pill and being okay with that, right? Women deserve so much more than what's being offered to them with the pill. And so just my passion is to educate women on what the pill is actually doing and to tell them there's this other option. You can chart your cycle. We can get down to the root of why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And then I can get you hooked up with a really good doctor that's going to help you. So that's my bread and butter. That's what I love because that is my experience. And I know that whenever I teach women this, it's just a light bulb that goes off in their head. And oftentimes, more times than not, I hear, why have I never learned this?
Yes.
That's what I hear.
Women deserve more. They deserve the truth.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
The truth about their bodies.
Most women don't know basic information about their body. And it's not to their fault. It's because they're just never taught. They're never taught.
Yes.
You know, and and so that's my mission is to teach them.
Praise God. Well, God bless your work. God bless your family.
Thank you.
Your 3 beautiful children. And maybe we'll come on again.
That'd be great.
Awesome. God bless you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.